What is the secret to high-performing dental teams, you may ask? It's probably not what you would imagine. It's actually culture. Culture eats tactics or strategies for breakfast. Peter Drucker said that. Culture's also one of those fuzzy terms that I would say it's almost overused. So I created an illustration, especially because most of you in the dental profession are scientists, that culture is like a petri dish. It's the DNA of your practice. And it's made up of the beliefs, values, behaviors, and attitudes, starting with leadership down. Culture is something that we have to be intentional about, and we really must fiercely protect. So a component of that the high-performing dental teams know is that they've got to be super focused and they have to be in alignment. How many of you have ever been driving your car and you're driving down the road and you realize it's pulling a little bit to the right? And you think, I don't have time for that. Right? So you keep driving and it keeps getting worse. The faster you go, the harder it pulls, and you have to exert much more energy just to get where you're going. And that's what happens in practices that feel like, wow, we know what to do. Why is it so hard to go from knowing what to do to getting it done? How do we shorten that implementation gap? So one of the things that happens that gets in the way is workplace conflict. Workplace conflict costs, according to Inc.com, $359 billion annually. Well, what that also means is 2.8 productive hours during a week for a dental team. When we think about, wow, you know what, we know that we should call those patients that haven't been in, but we didn't have time. Often it's not time, it's focus. And I'm going to share with you today one of the things that steals that focus, but it's not only the time and money, it's the stress level and the energy. And we want to have teams that look forward to coming to work each and every day. You should be almost as excited to go to the office as you are to come back home. Most of us, right, if we put all of ourselves in the dental team perspective, it's like, oh, yeah, sometimes I get upset about things, but nobody knows, right? The patients don't know. They have absolutely no idea, right? So this is how I act, but this is how I really feel. But you know what, I'm so good. People have no idea. So I want to invite you to come with me on a journey into the practice of Dr. Ima Sample. And for the sake of this illustration, you're all dental hygienists. All right, you're in the morning huddle. It starts at 7:45 a.m. and you're rocking along. Then at 7:47, like a 7:47, in strolls Felicia, the hygienist. She comes zooming in and she's got her venti Starbucks non-dairy cafe mocha, extra hot in one hand and a blueberry scone in the other. And she goes, oh, I'm sorry, I'm late. And you're thinking in your head, bye, Felicia. Right? You're frustrated, right? But you perk up and you think, just shake this off, go about my day. So it's now, we rolled the clock forward, it's been a busy day, it's 4:10, and you have a hygiene patient that should have been booked for scaling and root planing, but they were booked for prophy, right? So you are already up to your armpits in all sorts of gunk. And you look at the clock, 4:10, because you hear Felicia's voice. Sounds like she's walking down the hallway and saying, bye everybody, I'll see you tomorrow. You look up at the schedule and you realize her last patient of the day no-showed. She didn't even ask me if she could help me with anything. And you glance up and not only did you hear her, but you see her doing the parade wave on her way out the office with her purse on her arm. So you look up and in the corner of your office, you now have a visitor, an unwelcome guest. Meet the bitter baby. The bitter baby feeds on anger and resentment, and it loves nothing more for you to rock it. But you cannot console this baby, right? So you're thinking in your head, oh, you're so irritated, and you're so irritated during the appointment, bitter baby's up in the corner, you forget to talk to the patient about the fact that they had perio and not a prophy. You dismiss the patient, you go in and clean up your room, and the bitter baby's up in the corner, and you're thinking, I can't believe she did that. She comes in late, she probably makes more money than I do. The nerve of her. Well, now you go into the sterilization area and you bump into Jane, the dental assistant, and you know you shouldn't go there, but you do. You look at Jane and you say, can you even believe that Felicia left early? You hand the bitter baby to Jane, and Jane makes the choice. She takes that bitter baby and she says, oh, tell me about it. And last week she didn't even empty her garbage 2 days of the week. You grab that bitter baby back as you're heading out of the office, you put it under your arm, and you're driving home, and the whole way home you're like, oh, and I totally forgot what she did last week. Well, your spouse is so used to you bringing the bitter baby home that he's already set a place for it at the table. Right? All three of you are having a conversation. And then you shake it off a little bit, you Netflix and chill, until you get up the next morning to go back to work. Guess who's in the driver's seat of your car? Woohoo! Who are we going to be angry at today? So the whole way to work, instead of thinking about, wow, how can I be more consistent with using the intraoral camera? What kind of value can we create today? This has occupied the space in your mind. Unresolved conflict causes teams to pull away from each other. What can we accomplish when we're not working together? Conflict, if you think about it, it's like a little monster. So if you had two people with a monster in between them, it would still be fairly easy to have a conversation with that cute little baby monster. Oh, he's so cute, squeak, squeak. But if it's not addressed, it grows into this smelly, acne-faced, irritable teenage monster that you really kind of want to avoid. If it's not handled, it becomes an ex-spouse-like horrific. And you think, ain't no way I'm going to come together and talk to them. It makes us rock the bitter baby. You cannot focus on rocking the bitter baby and doing your best at work. So what high-performing teams know is they just say no to that bitter baby. And they come together to create magic. And that is the difference. Most practices know what to do. How many times have you been somewhere and you're like, oh, we know that. When did we quit doing that? What's preventing us from making that happen? Right? If you want to shorten the implementation gap and create results that you never thought possible, say no to that bitter baby and come together. Thank you.